Welcome back to our Warrior Rising Founder Spotlight series. And we are kicking things off with Cassidy Nolan, who is the founder of Mach 1 Hot Sauce and our 2025 Iowa Business Shower Champion. So he's got heat, he's got hustle, and of course, a business journey that shows exactly what happens when early support comes in. So, Cassidy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So for those who haven't had the pleasure of trying your hot sauce, which I have personally, tell us like where this came from and what exactly is it? Like how did you bring this to life?
Yeah, great question. So, um, when I was when I was going through college, this is after I got out of the military, my wife bought me a beer making kit. Now, I come from a culinary background. I used to work for Thomas Keller and just a bunch of other restaurants, and so I knew my way around a kitchen, but I never really had fermented anything. So when my wife bought me this beer making kit for Christmas one year. I absolutely fell in love with just the entire fermentation process.
Yeah.
And I started to make beer, I started to make kimchi, I started to make sourdough bread, and then I finally landed on hot sauce. And this was just always like a pet project of mine, like a little side thing.
Yeah.
And after I graduated, I was working as an accountant for the Clark's company, and I'd always give out bottles of like beer. And then when I worked at other jobs, it was like beer and hot sauce. Um,
That's cool.
and what it ended up being was this sort of like beta testing, if you will, of like, what is a good hot sauce. I got just kind of sick and tired of like hot sauces that had sugar, they had a bunch of gums, they had stabilizers, they had preservatives, they had oil. That's to me just like we've made a mistake somewhere here.
Yeah.
um so it was just kind of crafting like a really good hot sauce that my work colleagues could enjoy. And then what really kickstarted everything is when we bought a house in 2020, we purchased it June 15th and then it burned down August 18th. So just 2 months and 3 days later, because this is Napa, California, it's a fire or a flood. At that moment, I knew I really wanted to like be serious about hot sauce. And I went back to grad school and got my MBA and then worked on a business plan. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So kind of going back to the military a little bit, what is your experience there? Do you feel like that helped you foundationally or in any part of your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I did military intelligence, whatever that is, kind of thing. We always say it was an oxymoron. So,
Yeah.
I would say, coming from the Marine Corps side, I think the biggest thing that I got from the military is just mentality. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a catch-all, and I don't want to be cheesy when I say that, but yes, there's discipline, and yes, there's camaraderie and mission objectives, and for me personally, it was just about this like ability to like adapt, improvise, and overcome. Like you're having to consistently be a lateral thinker,
Yeah.
and um that that in its entirety to me was just something that has kind of kept me going for most days where you're like, all right, this sucks, this is tough, but I know that um I could get past it, and I know, and it's like you could build on past experiences or past feelings, and you're like, all right, well, I survived that, I could probably do this too.
Yeah.
um it's tough for sure, but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you say that it's tough, so what's something that people typically misunderstand in like a food-based industry, if that makes sense?
Yeah, within sorry about that. Within consumer packaged goods, um, it's super competitive. It's a saturated market. Hot sauce itself is very impacted. Like there's so many substitutes and different choices out there, and everyone's always trying to reinvent a wheel in some way. So you're always into the wind. It's almost never at your back. It's only at your back when you have these very few, rare moment wins. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably sort of like, um, in some ways like an analysis of entrepreneurship in general, where it's, super hard, and then all of a sudden you get this big thing, and then it's on to the next thing. Right. It's like
Yeah.
this exercise in futility sometimes. But Um, some of the biggest challenges is getting past, the startup costs. So the reason why there's just to get super technical, and I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Alyssa, just cut me
that's
off at
okay.
some point, is within the food industry, more often than not, the barriers to entry are really low. Like Alyssa, today, you yourself can go to the store and you could buy things to make a hot sauce that you're like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. It has all the macro ingredients that I need, and like it fits perfectly well within my taste, parameters. And then from there, you could go rent a kitchen, a commercial kitchen. You can make a hot sauce. You could go on Upwork and get somebody to make a label, and then boom, you could go to your farmer's market and you could sell hot sauce, right? So super easy, right? So those barriers to entry are low, and that they're kind of low like that for a lot of food items. Um, and that's the reason why there's a lot of substitutes. There's a lot of choices. What makes it difficult though is like going to the next step of like, okay, we're not going to become into a distributor, and then you're like, now I'm going to get retailers. Um, and the biggest thing is you don't, because there's so much risk in let's say a grocery store like Safeway, which is really big here in California. There's so much risk taking on this new product that what they'll do is they'll ask for like a free fill, which is, you know, we'll take your product, but our first order is free. And when you do the math for how many stores there are, it'll be something like this just costed $10,000 worth of product. It's like I'm basically paying you to sell my product, and you have to meet expectations, what are called like the turn or the velocity, how fast the product is moving off the shelf, relative to like a can of Coke where you could sell it and drink it in one sitting. Hot sauce is an item that could take weeks or months to go through. So and I'm sorry I'm getting like super technical
No,
about
you're
it, but
fine.
it's like there's the biggest hurdles is, brass tacks. Everybody wants a piece. You don't want to race to the bottom, but you need to have a price that you could somehow make hold margin on, that you could then sell to a distributor who can then sell it and they can maintain a margin on, to then sell to a retailer who could sell it and maintain a margin as well. So it's like everybody wants a piece of the pie. You yourself are often getting the smallest one. And um, you have to continuously sell a product or they're just going to take you off the shelf. And sometimes for them to even have your product on the shelf in the first place, you
Yeah,
had to give it to them for free. So it's really tough. And it's like, it's so easy to lose money, even when you're doing everything right.
yeah.
The grocery store Erewhon, for instance, it would cost $10,000 just to have our hot sauce at 10 stores for
Wow.
6 months.
Yeah,
You know,
that's incredible.
it's
Yeah.
the only way that that would work
Wow.
out is if Taylor Swift or Sydney Sweeney were to pick up a bottle and be like, "This is good stuff." Gone, done, overnight success.
Yeah, Sydney's got great sauce, right? We can
Yeah,
This might
that's
be an
it.
idea. I mean, I'm just saying. You can
Yeah,
always you can always propose anything these days, right? The worst thing they can say is
yeah,
no. But yeah, so I
yes.
mean, we touched on some wins and you've had some milestones. You don't stop moving, right? Most entrepreneurs, we can't, right? We can't just
No.
stop moving. We got to stay in motion. So going back to Iowa early this year, so you were our first business shower champion of the year. So how was that moment specifically? And then our donors love finding out like how did that grant money help your business?
Yeah, what an experience is what I can say, just off the bat. My sister lives in Iowa. I had never actually even had
Yeah.
been. I missed her wedding, unfortunately. It's unrelated, but um, it
Whoops.
was just a beautiful state. I had super nice people. Everybody was just so accommodating and just very nice. And the business shower itself, I mean, what a venue, beautiful sunset. Um, Fantastic fellow participants, within my competing cohort, right, is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. And just an absolutely tremendous experience, honestly. Thank you. It was great to go out there and pitch, and everybody is obviously vying for first place. But I would say, winning was definitely one of those, the wind is in your back moment, and
Yeah.
it has allowed us that sort of cash injection allowed us to, um, we paid for professional photography, like stills of the product, including uh, video production to run like 10 and 15-second ads
Yeah.
that we could have on our website. We could run on like social media, Facebook Marketplace. And so that was a really good one. It also allowed us to do the research and development for our two new SKUs, which is a hot honey and siracha. The hot honey being the
Ooh,
most like sought after one. I believe that's the one that you tried that you really
I
enjoyed.
liked. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. It's not really too hot.
Yeah.
Um, redid our website. Um, yeah, I mean, and then probably the most expensive out of all of that was it allowed me to go to it's kind of like a trade show. You know, there's like SHOT Show and everything else, these expos. So this one was for sauces and condiments, and it was in Dallas, Texas, and it was like a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
And that allowed me to pitch to like Whole Foods and Kroger and Big Lots, like these big retailers. And at this point for us, like that is the direction that we really have to go. Um, we sell on average like 50 cases, which is like 600 bottles. As you can tell, I have a lot of
Yeah.
inventory. Um, like we're moving product and we're growing year over year, and we're in like 165 locations, which is awesome. But there's also 7,500 grocery stores just in California, and there's like 75,000 across the nation. Like, to put in perspective, we're so low, you know? So going to those events, allowed us to, hopefully kind of solicit larger purchase orders and finally start kind of like just again, moving the chains, working our way up.
Yeah. No, that's really incredible to hear, and I know everyone always is very curious how it helped their business and, that grant money because it's really impactful for a lot of these, vets like
Yeah.
yourself who are, even if it's overhead or whatever it is that you need it for, it's really great to just get that. But the last question I'll ask you is what is the piece of advice you would give to any veteran or military family member who's starting a business but in that product-based, industry?
It's gonna sound cheesy again, and I feel like, product, service, it doesn't matter. Um, I think business, running a business, running your own business is just it's a microcosm of life. I feel like many of us are flying the plane as we're building it, and it's really tough. It's hard. You're gonna be your worst critic, your biggest enemy. You're gonna have a lot of self-doubt. You're gonna say, well, this isn't working, or I worked so hard on this and it's not resonating. Why aren't I seeing the sales? Why aren't I seeing return on investment? So my biggest piece of advice, it's like you could do all the it's you and I are both parents. You could read all the books to be a parent, and you could try and prep yourself as much as you want for your first child, but it's like you're never going to be ready, and you're only ready enough, and the rest is just going to come up to you and how you handle that. And that's where I'm kind of going with this in similar vein. It's like, look, you could do all this legwork, you could have a professional degree, you could be in the military. At the end of the day, like what separates, I feel personally, what separates successful people and unfortunately, unsuccessful ones are the ones that are like, um, I am going to get past it's the discipline, it's the mindset, it's
Yeah.
the mentality. Like, everything is not a roadblock, it's an opportunity. It's not a challenge. It's a way to like, I'm gonna figure, if not over, or if not through, over, and if not over, I don't know, around it, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, that's the biggest thing you could I've trust me, I have read the books. I have gone to school. I have done the online courses. I've done all of it, and I've talked to people, mentors, uh, books, like journals, whiteboards. At some point, it's just it's your ability. to handle the ups and downs. And there's going to be more downs than ups, but like it's like the stock market over the long run, you will go up.
That's really great advice for anyone. It's like it's the mental fortitude, it's grit, it's
Yeah.
tenacity, it's that ability to just keep going even when you don't want to. Like, there's
Yeah.
gonna be days you don't want to, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes. And you know what? And give yourself that day too, right?
mhm.
Give yourself that day to be like, yeah, you know what? It's just I need a break. I'm gonna go on a walk. I'm gonna go get coffee with a friend. Whatever it is, give yourself that moment, but come back to it. Don't give up. Like, don't just quit. I feel like that's the hardest thing for me to do is just to fold and be like, well, you know, um, that's it. Outside of like an external thing, something that's
Yeah.
a force majeure kind of thing. You know, yeah, exactly. Grit, tenacity, mental fortitude. Keep going, be curious, ask questions, you don't know what you don't know. Um, Sometimes people will like listen to other people and you will make it. You will be successful.
Yeah, no, that's really powerful. So I appreciate you sharing that in some depth for everyone listening because sometimes they come here for a little bit of inspiration. I don't like to say motivation because it's very fleeting, but inspiration is sometimes what people need to get up, and do something. But I wanted
Yeah.
to thank you, Cassidy, again. It's really great having you in our forever community of Warrior Rising. Thank you so much for providing all this information for our viewers.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And for anyone who is listening here, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, but also follow Mach 1 Hot Sauce. We will have all of his information in the body of any description or caption. As well, if you would like to be in his seat one day as a champion, go ahead and join our programs at Warrior Rising. And if you're looking to donate to an incredible organization that helps elevate and build the next great American business, you know where to find us at warriorrising.org. We'll see you next time.